Welcome to the Sunday Live at 5. And we are here talking about reclaiming our lives from toxic jobs. This is for Black women in toxic jobs. So I'm very excited to share with you two very special guests. We have Adalia from Picky Girl Travels the World and Ivana from Ivana Run the World here with us. And we're going to talk about ways that we can take our power back as Black women. We know that when we're in toxic jobs, that those toxic jobs can rob us of so much, our health, our wellness in terms of our state of mind, our joy, our dreams, so much they can rob us of. So we are talking about reclaiming that, okay? So how do we reclaim that? We're going to have a conversation about that and offer you some tips about ways to reconnect or reclaim your power back from a toxic job. If you have not already subscribed to my channel, please do so. Lifting Us with Climb Consulting Wellness Services. It's free, okay? And also give this video a thumbs up. So I'm going to have my guests introduce themselves first, and then we're going to go into the discussion. So Adalia, I'll turn it over to you first to introduce.
Hi, everybody. My name is Adalia Aborisade. I am a financial educator and a relocation specialist. My real goal out here is to help Black women get free, financially free, free in other ways so that they can live the life that they want.
Yes, thank you, thank you. Ivana.
Hi, Ivana Robinson. I'm a certified life and leadership coach, and I say I'm a reformed corporate ladder climber as well. But I help women abandon the rule book and embrace 10 out of 10 living.
Yes, yes, yes. So I'm wondering if both of you can tell me where you're living now and how did you get there? What was your process of getting to where you're living now?
Well, we both actually live in Mexico City. Adalia is from Houston, Texas originally. I was born and raised in Colorado. We have both lived in other places, I think, sort of before and in between that, but Mexico City is home.
Okay, okay. And I'm wondering if you could share in terms of what was your process of deciding to leave the country, deciding on Mexico City, because people who are listening here, right, a lot of Black women feel that they are stuck in whatever job they have, whatever place that they live, they feel stuck. So I wanted to provide an opportunity for Black women to see there's another way. We have options, right? So can you share just a little bit in terms of your process of arriving to Mexico City?
Yes. I feel like this is a question for Adalia because I feel like there was more of a plan. I wasn't so much like leaving the US so much as I fell in love with Mexico City many years before I actually got to move here. But yeah, for me, it was less about leaving and more about getting to Mexico. I felt at peace here. I always have felt at home here, like from the moment I touched down on my very first trip. And so I spent the next like 5-6 years just trying to get to Mexico. First with my corporate job, which I ended up in Belgium, not Mexico.
Wow.
But it did take me, it was a huge difference. But it took me getting rid of the job and understanding I had other options to finally get to Mexico.
Yes, yes. Thank you, Ivana. What about for you, Adalia?
Oh, for me, it was all about the leaving. I actually wasn't all that particular about where I was going, but I knew I needed to leave. For me, I got to a point where I realized that there were some fundamental value differences between the things that I hold dear and things that are, held up as the goal in the United States. And I did not feel that I could be my most full self there. So I decided that I would leave and find a country where I could do that. When I first moved abroad, the first place I moved to was Honduras. That was not, I knew going into it that that was not a permanent move, but it did help me understand what were the things that were really, really important to me. And I I accidentally moved to Mexico City. It wasn't the intention. Uh,
Oh,
it's a longer story, but I moved here by accident. I got here and I was like, oh, this is it.
okay.
This place. I
Yes.
have since lived other places
Hmm.
and they did not measure up. So I came back.
Ah, okay. So paying attention to how we feel in a space, and both of you are talking about really exercising our choices. So we have options. So Adelia, you talked about running away from, right? And I think a lot of Black women watching this want to run away from something, right? So how did you get the courage to do that? Many people think it, but they never do it. And they keep like beating themselves up. I wish I could have. I wish I did. How did you get the courage to do that?
I wouldn't characterize it as running away. I know there are some people who would. I would not. But the honest truth is, I had made other changes in my life. I left a 20-year marriage that was not a healthy place for me,
Mhm.
and really had blown my life up substantially. So this was less of a big deal, really, than the stuff I had already done.
Yes.
But I will acknowledge that on the same degree, some people move abroad, I mean, get a divorce and move to Florida. I did, and I just moved to Honduras. So I get that it was a big move, but in comparison, and I think that's the other thing, the other actions I had taken,
Mhm.
I was already becoming a person who could not exist in spaces where I couldn't be my full authentic self. So
Hmm.
anything less than that was just unacceptable.
Yeah, yeah. And Adelia, I've been watching you for a while. I think a lot of people have been watching you too. And everyone I interviewed Adelia, I think a year ago about leaving a toxic job. So I'll put that in the description section. But, I think what's notable too is that you talked a lot about you were living a life that you did not want to live for so many years. And then you decided there has to be something more. Like, I want something more out of my life. And I think a lot of Black women are in a similar situation. So, can you share with us how have you both used your own journey in terms of being where you want to be to help Black women, other Black women, recognize that they have choice, they have options? What is the work you're doing now, and how are you supporting that? And I remember, Adelia, you talked about defying convention, embracing adventure, and regretting nothing. I love that. Okay. So tell us a little bit about the work you do now and how you both support Black women in healing.
Do you want me to go
Want to go
first?
first?
Okay. Well, yes. So I support Black women individually. I have my own coaching practice, and a lot of the work that I do is with women who are, I would say, disillusioned with the status
Mhm.
quo,
Mhm.
and helping them to reframe their perspectives and really understand what the possibilities are.
Mhm.
I think when we are in that sort of stuck position, our
Mhm.
options seem very binary to us,
Yeah.
right? It's
Yeah.
either I do this thing or nothing,
Right.
as
Right.
opposed to asking the question of, what do I need to be more energized in my life, right? What would actually make me enjoy my life, or what role does work need to play in my life for me to be happy,
Mhm.
right? As opposed to, it's this job or no job.
Right. Or what I hear too is, if I leave this job, I'm gonna be homeless. Like, it goes from
Yes,
there to there. Like, what happens to all of the steps in between?
there's
Yeah.
so much happening in between.
Right.
And then in collaboration with Adalia, we also host Reclaim the Retreat, which is a retreat for women and femmes looking to reclaim their identity, their happiness, and their peace. And so that is more about getting outside of your daily routine. Let's go to a new location. Let's devote a week to thinking about ourselves only. You
Mhm.
let someone else take care of all the stuff, if you
Mhm.
will.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, Adalia.
Um, I was trying to think if there was like one. fluid answer here, and I don't think there is.
Mhm.
Um, I became a public person, somebody who created a podcast specifically for Black women who want to live life on their terms.
Mhm.
Out of my own experience, a friend was like, "You are doing things that other women want to do,
Hmm.
but don't know how."
Mhm.
And if you've met me in person, if you've spent any time with me, you know that I always have a tidbit. I can always give you a tip on how to do this, that, and the other thing. So that's where the podcast came from. But the work that I do, uh, the financial education, financial literacy work, relocation work, helping people who want to move abroad figure out a plan for that and execute
Mhm.
it. That kind of came out of, I knew I wanted to do something that helped women,
Mhm.
because when you improve the lives of women, you improve the lives of everyone.
Mhm.
And in particular, when it came to money and finances, I know firsthand how making sure that you are secure in that space
Mhm.
opens up the opportunities. Like, I not been in control of my money, I couldn't have left my marriage. I
Mhm.
could not have left the United States. I could not
Mhm.
have quit my job at 45, like all of that.
Mhm.
And while I was working at a particularly bad place, and I was like, I don't have to put up with this. I am leaving. There were so many other women who were not. And
Mhm.
I really had to sit and think, well, what's the difference between me and them?
Mhm.
And you were talking about options
Mhm.
before.
Mhm.
Money gives you options.
Yes.
People like to debate, does money buy happiness and all of that? What money does is it gives you options.
Yes.
And I want every Black woman to have those options so
Mhm.
that she can create the life that she wants. So that's kind of how I ended up in the line of work that I'm doing now.
Hmm. It's so interesting. And after this question, I want you guys to talk about the retreat too, because I think Black women need to envision that we can center ourselves and that we don't always have to be the workhorses for everybody else. But when you were talking, I was struck by something because a lot of the Black women who watch my channel, who reach out to me, they will say, I dread this job. I hate it. I don't want to be here anymore, but I can't leave because I'm scared about the money issue. So what you're talking about is you can leave, but we're talking about still thinking about finances, still prepare. But I think most Black women are not thinking about that. They're thinking this is the only place where I can get money is this job, and I have to stay here until I retire. So that mindset, right? So how do you guys deal with that mindset? Because Ivana, you talked about something too that really stood out about being disillusioned. So many Black women that I encounter, myself included, disillusioned because you feel like you've checked out all the boxes. I went to school, check. I did this, check. You did all these different things. And at a certain point, you look back on your life like, did I work this hard for this? Like this cannot be it. So how do you all deal with that? I call it the mind trash. How do you all deal with that mind trash for the Black women that you work with?
Ugh, yes. It's a lot of it is getting clear on like what is actually yours,
Mm,
right? Because a lot of that mind trash, as you call it, that we're carrying isn't ours, right? Like that's
yes.
what society told us is the how we have to do things. That is what our parents have maybe expected of us, right? And what it means to ascend, right? Or to do better than they did, right? Is you check these boxes and you go down this one singular path.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of it is like being ready to, you got to be okay with letting that go, right? You got to put that
Okay.
down.
And
Yeah.
recognizing that that's social programming, right? So that's what you were
Yeah.
told you had to be, but it's very limiting. So it doesn't incorporate what you want, or if that doesn't fit for you, being able to pivot from that.
Exactly. And especially as Black women, right? Like that rule book was not made for us to succeed, right? That
True.
is a white
True.
straight man rule book.
True.
And so even if we sort of attain the things that we're quote unquote supposed to attain by following these steps, chances are you're still not going to be happy. You're still not going to have success in the same way because it's not made for you.
And it's
And
elusive,
so,
right? So you're constantly looking for external validation. It keeps going further and further and further. Yes.
that keeps us in that trap. And
Yeah.
so I think just even by living the lives that Adalia and I lead is just showing women that there is another way. Even if it's not our way, right? It's not
Yeah.
about doing what we have done so much as realizing that you have the option to do something different too.
Yes, yes, yes. And what about for you, Adalia? How do you deal with the mind trash, particularly because you deal with finance stuff, right? So people, we all have like a money story. There's a lot of emotion attached to money. How do you deal with that mind trash and then tell Black women there's still another way? You know what I mean?
I think it really is a lot of what Ivana just said about getting creating a space where people feel comfortable enough to really explore their money story and how they feel about money, because often people avoid that.
Yes, they do.
They don't dig into it. And accepting that, or digging into where those feelings come from,
Mm-hmm.
and understanding that, okay, this is what you have done, this is how things have been, but if this is what you want, and getting clear on this is what I want, this is
Mm-hmm.
not something I want because this is what my parents expect, what
Mm-hmm.
my kids expect of me, and looking at, does my financial behavior align with it? And so it takes a lot of reflection. And
Mm-hmm.
so I use my own story
Mm-hmm.
to kind of open that door. I
Mm-hmm.
think that that's one of the reasons a lot of women seek my assistance, is because I share so much of my experience publicly, like Ivana said, that they can see, oh, I never thought about doing it that way.
Yeah.
Maybe what I did is not right for them, but this idea of, oh, she was a high school teacher and she was able to do X, Y, and Z. I never thought that was possible because everyone talks about how you have to make six figures in
Mm-hmm.
order to be able to just make it in the world and that sort of thing.
Right, 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 right. So envisioning something else, and both of you being very transparent about your own journeys and saying, you know what, this is how I did it, but you have the option to do whatever you want, but just recognize options. So as we're talking about options, I would love to hear about the retreat, because Black women thinking about retreat, it's like, what? You want me to do what? You want me to? I got things to do. I got responsibilities. I got, right. So tell us about the retreat, how you even came up with the idea, and tell us a little bit more about it.
I was pushed into doing a retreat.
Not by me.
Okay.
But not by you either. So a friend of mine does educational travel, like educational tours,
Mm-hmm.
in places like Cuba and El Salvador. And she came to me and was like, "Why aren't we doing a coaching retreat? Like, the people need to hear from you, but like, let's get back in person." Right. This is after, the pandemic has started, the
Mm-hmm.
lockdown, but she's like, people want to be in person, people want to be together. Like, let's do this thing. And I'm like, girl, that's a lot of stuff. And I mentioned it to Adalia, and she was like, I was thinking about this. We should do it.
Ah.
Yeah. I could perfectly envision what we would be doing. Both Ivana and I are avid travelers, but in
Mm-hmm.
particular, the style in which we like to travel. We want to know about the people and the places we visit. We want to have authentic experiences. We want to travel in a sustainable way.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the work that we do kind of aligns, overlaps. So to me, I was like, oh, I could see this perfectly. And so that's how the retreat kind of came to be.
Uh-huh.
Um, I was trying to think what else is part of that
Well,
story.
you guys talked about what's needed, right? I think that a lot of Black women, the idea, like you talked earlier, you envision you had to, or people told us, you have to have 6 figures, you have to have this, you have to have that, right? So for a lot of Black people, a lot of Black women, the idea of a retreat feels like it's not meant for us, right? And so can you speak to that? Because when I talk to Black women too, there's this, and this is very sad to me, that they do not feel that they have time for joy. They don't have time to rest. They don't have access, like all these things. And this is what you guys are talking about is something totally different from how we've been programmed as Black women.
Yeah, that's a social construct. Like, time is real. How we choose to use our time or what we prioritize, that is all on us.
Yes,
right?
yes.
And if we are constantly telling ourselves that we don't have time for something, right? What you're saying is I myself am not important enough to prioritize.
True. Yeah.
And that is the purpose of our retreat, is to say not only, right, like not only are you worthy of prioritizing putting yourself first, but put yourself first again, right? As Adalia said, when women, you know, are supported and we're doing well, so is everybody else.
Right.
And so while we may have that social conditioning of we need to be last on the list, right? It is important for us to take care of everybody else before ourselves. The truth is our relationships and other people in life are probably suffering because we're not able to show up as our full selves, as our best selves, our present selves.
And we're stressed out. So we're like probably irritated, all this other stuff because we're so stressed out from not taking rest. So when you think about a retreat, how can a retreat help a Black woman? So a Black woman who's in a toxic job, how can a retreat help her?
The first thing is that you get away from, it's very hard. What is it they say? It's very hard to heal in the environment that has injured you. I know I'm misquoting that, but the idea is the same. Getting away from your everyday life where there are all of these expectations on your time and where you're always put last. And when you come on retreat, you don't have to do the mental labor. That's been a big thing on IG and TikTok, and I remember it very well from being married, how I had to keep all of the balls in the air for everybody all the time. You come on retreat, you are released from that. You don't have to plan anything. You don't have to schedule anything. All you have to do is be there, be present, and relax.
Yeah.
So there's that piece of it, because you really do need that space to, as we've been talking about, getting clear on what it is that you want.
Yes.
And it's so hard to do in your regular everyday life. So that's like the number one thing to me.
Yes. And I'll put the link, everybody, for the retreat up on the screen. So thank you, Marissa, for sharing that. So if you want to go to the retreat, check that out. Click the link. Okay. And so Ivana, so you talk about clarity, Adalia. What other things might a Black woman who's in a toxic job, how might she benefit from going on your retreat?
Yeah. Our sort of coaching framework is split into 3 parts. So like over the course of the 7 days, we talk about, right, how do we illustrate the dream, right? And picking through the pieces of, is this actually your dream or does this just sound good to people? Right? What are the values that are underlying that? Let's get clear. Let us poke and prod you a little bit, right? And then we look at, let's illuminate the roadblocks. Where are you right now? And what is keeping you from that dream?
That's good, right?
And then we kind of, part 3, we got to inspire you into action. Let's create that action plan with, our support as well as accountability. That is also why we have the retreat, is to bring women together. When you're doing something that is maybe new for you, new to the people in your lives, they may not have the capability to support you fully in the way that you need on this new path, on this new journey. So come hang out with other people who have similar goals or trying to work through similar things, and y'all can support each other.
Yes. Now, I know you said this before. I'm going to ask you to repeat it again. Who was the retreat for?
I say it's for women and femmes who are looking to reclaim their identity, their happiness, and their peace.
Okay.
Um, so you do not have to be Black to go on it.
Okay.
We're open, but obviously, as Black women, that is who is centered in all of our work.
Yes, yes, yes. Okay. So I'm wondering for the Black women who are watching this right now, and they're watching this, they're like, oh, that sounds good. That sounds good. But I'm just going to try to stay in this toxic job a little while longer until I can retire or till my child graduates from high school or college. Or, I'd rather stay with the devil I know than the devil I don't know. If I leave this, like, you hear all this fear, right? All this fear, all these excuses, all the lies. What would you say to her? What words of wisdom would you offer her? Because I hear this a lot. Any version of those, I hear that a lot.
What I have to say my words may not be the kindest, because I'm going to follow that up with, okay, and if you were to die tomorrow, next
Mm,
week,
mm,
or become incapacitated because of the stress you're carrying at that job, are
mm,
you okay with that? And not getting a chance to do these things that you think you will have time to do when the child graduates after you retire.
mm.
Are you okay with that?
Right. That's sobering. But real talk. It's real talk, right? Because we see Black women who are dying, from the stress. We saw last week 3 Black women in high profile positions dying. So, yeah, so really recognize, is it worth it, right? So, are you living the life that you want to live? Absolutely. What about you, for Ivana? What would you say to a Black woman who's saying all these excuses, all these things to herself to convince herself to stay at a toxic job?
Yeah, I mean, life is just too short to be unhappy, and I think similar to Adalia, it's asking yourself like you clearly see the benefits, right? The perceived benefits of staying in this job, but what is it costing you?
Hmm.
Is that worth
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, what is it costing you? Okay, excellent. And this is a classic question. I think I know the answer for both of you, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Do you have any regrets about leaving your job or leaving the country?
it? No.
No,
No regrets.
No,
not a
I'm the
single
person
one.
who's like, we can, I guess in my mind, the thing that allows me to be so free about it is I
Mhm.
can always go back, right? The United States is still there. I can
Yeah,
move back.
yeah.
I got a job before. I can get a job again. It is always there for me.
Yes, yes, yes. So knowing that that could be, don't feel like it's the end of the world. If you have to go back, you don't want to, but it's an option too,
Yeah.
right?
But
Okay.
I think I'm also more equipped now to know, right, if I do need to get a typical 9 to 5, I know what I need in a job, right? I know how to look for spaces that are not, or not to put up with the crap that is maybe in some workspaces, and to find something that is more regenerative for me.
Yes, yes, yes. What about you, Adelia? About do you have any regrets?
No. Um, there was there was a point in my life where I might have said, I wish I had done it earlier.
Mm,
Um, I'm beyond that. Because feeling that way is not going to change anything. I'm
yes,
just happy I did it at all,
yes.
because the life I've been able to create for myself far surpasses anything I could have imagined.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And I think a lot of Black women are in the I wish I coulda, right? And you're saying, you know what? It doesn't serve me to think that way. And Black women, the Black women that I've encountered too, is they feel so stuck in that. Then they start, it's like almost like a self-loathing in some ways. How were you able to say, you know what? Yeah, I wish I could have, but I'm moving on. How have you talked to yourself through that? Because other Black women are just kind of stuck in that.
I Again, life is short. And do I want to spend it feeling bad, one, feeling bad about things I cannot change? No. And you have to forgive yourself for the choices you made, because
Mhm.
at the time that you made them, they were the best that given all the information you had, you made the best choice you could.
Yes.
So why am I going to beat myself up for doing what I needed to do at the time that I did it?
Yes, yes, yes,
Mhm.
yes, yes. Yes. Okay. So as we're winding down, I'm going to read the chat, but I also am saying, wanting to know more information about your individual services. So we talked about the retreat, right? And the retreat, when is the retreat again?
We have several dates. We actually have a retreat coming up in November, but it is sold out.
Okay.
But currently available, you can register for our February Galentine's Day. It's a special edition of Reclaim the Retreat. And we will be in Oaxaca at some point in 2024, Hawaii, and actually, if we're actually getting ready to make some really big announcements about April. And so if people go to reclaimtheretreat.com, they can get on the mailing list
Okay.
because the
Yes.
people on the wait list get the information first.
Okay. So you said
And
November
one
sold
other
out.
thing that
Okay.
I do want to say about our retreat, a
Mm-hmm.
lot of the examples we gave are for women and femmes who maybe are feeling unfulfilled or dissatisfied. But we had women at the retreat who, I think, if you would have asked them, are you dissatisfied with your life? They would have told you, no, my life is great. But yet, through the retreat week, we were able to drill down to there was a portion of their dream that they had not yet really poured into and
Mm.
were not following through on.
Ah, right.
So I want to put that out there that at first glance you might think like, oh, this isn't for me. I would disagree. I would bet it is.
Uh-huh. I think it's for everyone, right? So in the sense that, we all need a moment away so we can reflect and rest and really explore what is it that we want for ourselves. Like you said, Ivana, really look at our dreams and whose dreams are these? Are they ours or somebody else's? And what are your dreams and how do you get there? So when we think about the retreat, you said it was November sold out, right? Then you have February coming up. And where's the February one?
El
February
Salvador.
14th through the 20th in El Salvador.
Okay.
Mhm.
And then there was another one. Would you say Hawaii?
Yes.
Wow.
July.
Okay.
I don't happen to know the July dates, but
At the
end of
end.
July, end of July. The dates are on the website.
Okay. So everybody check out the website. Check out the website, sign up so you can be notified about where the next location is. Okay. So in addition to the retreat, can you both share what a little bit more in terms of your coaching and other supports that you offer? Just so people who are watching have that information.
Mhm. So I work mainly one-on-one with my clients, and so we can work a couple of times a month, 2 to 3 times a month for at least 3 months is what it really takes to take that time out to think about yourself. Let's figure out what the goals are, and then create the plan, troubleshoot, right? I get to support you not just in creating the plan, but also in let's take some of these steps. Let's see what works and what doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think quite often we have a plan, and then when that doesn't work, we get thrown off, as
True.
opposed to taking that in as data for us to
Yes.
make a new decision before to use going forward. And
Yeah.
so I get to work with you one-on-one in that personalized way to do that.
Yes. And that we can all pivot, right? So even if things don't go the way you expect, not only is it more data, but you can still pivot. We've all pivoted before, right? So it's not the end of the world. Okay. Thank you, Ivana. What about for you, Adalia?
My work kind of falls into two categories when it comes to moving abroad, or figuring out a move, the logistics, a plan, that sort of thing. I work one-on-one, either in a short, like 1 hour. I've got some questions. I just need you to look over my plans to make sure they sound okay, and ask Adalia call, or a 6 month partnership where I help you get out of the door. Um, I've done that with several people. When it comes to money and finances, I do one-on-one, but I also have created a investing challenge. Black women are some of the least invested. We have the least amount of money. We're the group with the smallest number of people investing in the U.S. stock market.
Mm.
So I created the Get Started Investing Challenge.
Mhm.
Um, the last one for this year actually starts this month, I think on the 15th.
Okay.
That is exclusively for Black women.
Mhm.
It is intended for newbies,
Mhm.
people who are like, I have no clue where to start, as well as folks who are like, I have a 401k. I don't know what's in it. I don't know how it works, but I have one.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Um, and then very soon, the Financial Confidence Academy will be starting up. That is open to everyone. And it's really about getting the foundational financial literacy information
Mhm.
that everybody needs to have in order to make sound decisions financially so that you can live the life that you want. And you
Mm.
can find all of that on my website.
Awesome. And can you tell the audience a little bit, if they don't already follow you, about Picky Girl Travels the World? What is that podcast about? How did it come to be?
Ah, how did that come to be? I never wanted to be on camera. I
Ah,
did not want to be on YouTube, which is funny because I have a YouTube
hilarious.
channel now.
Yes.
But I had some things to say. I had some things I wanted to share. And so I thought, podcast, I can do that. I just have to talk. And like the tagline says, it is to help Black women live life on their terms, defy convention, embrace adventure, and regret nothing. Like that's the life I want. That's the life I wanted for myself, and that's
Mhm.
the life that I wanted for other Black women. So that podcast is all about, how do you get there? How do you make that happen? Who are some Black women who are out here doing it? Because it's so
Mhm.
much easier to envision yourself living life differently if
Mhm.
you can point to other Black women who are carving their own path.
Yes, yes, yes. And I think in what you were saying, and just hearing both of you, and I know a little bit about the story, but I would love for you, as we're winding down, to tell the audience, both of you, how did you two meet each other? Because when I watch you all together, it's like a sisterhood. You all are laughing together, and we talk about the different generations, and Adelia with you telling Ivana about the vibe and all these other kind of stuff, right? So, how did you all meet? And the reason that I want to say this again is that I've heard so many times Black women saying they can't trust other Black women because of negative experience they've had. But I just want to assure Black women, even if you've had some negative experiences, that is not for all Black women. So please don't generalize that. Okay. So, can you all share just a little bit about how did you all even meet?
I guess technically we met on Facebook first. Way before we actually met in person via, the many No Madness Facebook groups and being connected about Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I moved to Mexico officially September 2021,
Mm-hmm.
um, someone had like a drinks, like a cocktail meetup thing. And I just happened to go to that, and Adalia went to that. And that was, I guess, our meet cute, if you will.
And
Uh-huh.
I had no idea we had actually Facebook messaged each other previously. I had no idea. But in the conversation, because it was supposed to be light drinks, but like the conversation went everywhere. We talked about all kinds of things, and I was like, I like her. Maybe I'll friend her on Facebook, which is huge because trying to make friends in your 40s, not the easiest thing. And when I did, I subsequently discovered, oh, this is the girl I talked to, last year or what have you. So yeah, just kind of a chance meeting, because she failed to mention she literally had moved to Mexico City that day. Like she got off the plane, dropped off her bags, and then came to have
Wow.
drinks.
Wow. Ivana.
So I guess that's the tip. Lean in, right? Lean into the open invitations. Because that's the thing, is you're never going to find your people if you're not trying to find your people.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like you kind of have to be out there and you have to be a little bit open.
Yeah. That's the part I want you to talk about because Adalia, I've heard you talk about that you're an introvert, right? And that
Absolutely.
but it was something about Ivana that you let her in,
Yeah,
right?
because I say this all the time. I don't talk to people I don't know. I won't talk to strangers. Absolutely not. So I guess the person who really gets the credit here is Latifa, because she was the person who invited me, who invited Ivana. And I guess it was just so refreshing to meet somebody who I was like, oh wow, we are like on the same page about so much that me, the introverted introvert,
Oh, the
decided to
introverted
reach
introvert.
out.
Wow.
Like, I don't do that. I don't
Okay.
do that at
Introverted
all.
introvert. Okay.
Oh,
Like
absolutely.
I'm an introvert too, but I know I'm better about putting myself out there in certain, so it's like, oh, I have a question about a thing. I will probably still ask the question, whereas Adalia will just like, I guess I won't know.
I will never know.
Don't need to talk to that person.
Right, right,
Or
right.
Ivana, you go ask them.
Yes. So okay, I promise it's gonna be the last question before I look at the chat. How do two introverts come together to provide an experience, a retreat? So you have to reach out to Black women or women who are there. You have
Yeah.
to have conversations. How do you work through that?
A lot of planning
Good
and
and
a lot of
small.
support.
I was gonna say, and we're good in small settings, intimate
Yes,
settings.
yes.
Yeah.
So the retreat actually works really well for us because we're talking about a group of less than 12 women.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You all sound like me, honestly. And people are surprised, like, you're not an introvert. I'm like, yes, I am. But because I'm on YouTube, they think that I'm very outgoing. I'm not. But I completely understand in terms of with small groups, you feel like you're more comfortable, you can express things. It's just much easier. So everyone, as I'm starting to read the chat, please check out here the retreat. Click there so you can find out information about when the retreats are, so you can sign up for those. And just in terms of the chat, we talk about psychological safety. Someone who's joining said, can't wait to November. And we've unfortunately seen it happen so many to Black women. I think we're talking about the number of Black women who have lost their lives recently. Was about to put my phone away and saw the notification. Glad I hopped in. We'll catch the replay tomorrow. I'm glad you joined. My friend Colette Elizabeth is here. Thank you for tuning in. And my friend Marissa Price. Just that tagline is life changing. That sounds like alignment. Love it. Awesome to catch you, wonderful ladies, live. Rashida and Stephanie this afternoon, and now you all this evening. All of you are inspiring me. So, everyone, please take a moment to again reclaim yourself. Reclaim yourself from anything that is not supporting your growth. If it is harming you, if it's like a slow, like death, basically. I remember Sundays at this time used to be the worst day of the week because I knew I had to go back to that toxic job. In fact, I saw an email that came in from Stephanie and Rashida about Exodus Summit, and it said the Sunday scaries. This was the Sunday scaries for me. And many of you who are watching this might be experiencing the Sunday scaries too, because you know you need to go back to that toxic job. We are here to share with you so you can see in terms of our example too. There is another way. You don't always have to be in that place that you're in. You are able to pivot. There are options for you. Check out the retreats. You can get away. So you can get away, clear your mind, rest, start the healing. Okay. Now, I'm mindful of that too, that if you end up going back to a toxic job, taking a retreat, you're exposing yourself back into that toxic environment. But my hope is that you're starting to make a plan about how to get out. Okay. So in terms of reclaiming your sanity, reclaiming your health. So if you have not already subscribed to my channel, please do so. Lifting Us We Climb Consulting Wellness Services. Please give this video a thumbs up. And as I am healing, I'm sharing my journey as a toxic job survivor. As I'm healing and I'm helping as many Black women as I can. I'm a movement maker, right? I'm ushering in a movement for more Black women to leave and heal from toxic jobs. Again, if you want to check out the retreat, please do so. If you're a Black woman who is ready to leave a toxic job, you need some help, you don't know how to do it, please reach out to me for a discovery call. That will be in the description section as well. So to my guests, Adalia and Ivana, I want to say thank you both for taking time out on a Sunday, for being here, and for being such an example to Black women, particularly, that there's another way. There's another way we can reclaim so much of our lives back because we deserve it. Even though society tries to tell us we don't, we deserve it. Okay, so we have to remember that. So everyone, as I'm signing off, again, video thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, share this video with at least one other Black woman. Okay, so thank you both, and good night, everyone. I hope you have a good rest of your evening, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.